The input element is versatile, but we'll need more than that to accept other types of input. As you can see, we have the same form that we created in the previous video, and we're going to add on to it. First, we're going to add a text area, or add the text area element. And we're going to add that before our submit button and after our group of checkboxes. So let's just create some space to work here. And we're going to type out the text area tag. We're going to give it an attribute of essay because we're going to ask people to write a brief essay about themselves. We're going to use the rows attribute, and we want this to be 10 rows across, and really this is just an alternative way of thinking about width and height. So we'll add columns to go with the rows. We'll go ahead and close this text area, switch over to the browser, and refresh the page. And as you can see, we now have a text area that we can type in. And a text area is useful for longer form text rather than just a single line of text like we have up here. Now, of course, we can modify the rows and columns attribute. So let's go ahead and try that. So let's say we wanted an essay here that was 15 rows wide and 10 columns tall. We'll refresh, and now we have a really tall and skinny one. So we'll just go ahead and actually switch that back to 10 rows and 30 columns. And one thing I would like to point out is that this does not actually limit the amount of text that you can type in here. It just adjusts the size of the text area. And in some browsers, you can actually just resize the text area to be whatever you want. So it actually barely matters. It's just to size the initial size of the text area. So we should probably add a line break here to break our input for the submit button down to the next line. There we go. And that about covers it for text areas. Now, let's learn about selects. So I'm going to create a select here, a select element, and I'm going to close it. And inside of my select element, I'm going to add a few options here. So let's say that we were asking the user which continent they live on. We'll want to add an option element. And inside of this option element, we'll say North America. We'll add another one that says South America. Then we'll add in Europe. We'll throw in Africa. Add in Asia. Got two more here. Australia. And then finally, Antarctica. So now we have our 7 continents, and select groups are good when you have a few too many things to use for radio buttons. Because if you had too many radio buttons, the page would look kind of messy. But if you think about it, a select box really serves the same purpose because you can only select one item. So let's save that and let's see what it looks like. We'll switch back to the browser and refresh the page. And as you can see, I now have a little select box where I can choose a single item one at a time, just like I can choose a single item with radio buttons. So let's go ahead and add a line break there just to break it up from our submit button. If we refresh, there we go. And then finally, let's add in some option groups because we probably want to group together things in our selects in most cases. So we'll just group together some of these continents. We'll add an opt group here, and we'll label it Americas for North and South America. And we'll close the opt group there. And then we'll indent the options that are inside of it, so we know that those are part of that opt group. We'll add another opt group or option group, and we'll label it Eurasia and put Europe and Asia together. Say opt group there. So we'll put the option Europe inside of there and the option Asia. And then again, we'll indent them so we know that they're part of that opt group. So we'll go ahead and save that out, switch back to the browser and refresh. And as you can see here, we now have these opt group labels, Americas and Eurasia, which are slightly grayed out, and we can't actually select them. They're not selectable items. Only the items underneath them are selectable. What you'll also notice is that the items within the opt group are slightly indented from the rest of the list. That indicates that they are part of that option group. That's it for text areas and selects. We're almost done learning about form elements, but there are still a few more to go.